name is Lacey McKinnon, and I am the Director of Strategic Alumni Services for the Arkansas Alumni Association at the University of Arkansas. Today, however, I'm moderating this session as part of the CAMP Programming Committee. Welcome to our CAMP Conference 4A, Marketing Across the Generational Spectrum, featuring presentations by Oklahoma State Alumni Association, University of Colorado Boulder Alumni Association, and Carolina Alumni. We're so excited that you're here and look forward to an engaging conversation about marketing to alumni from all of our generations. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping tips. Please hold your questions until the end. We're going to have all of our speakers present, and then we'll provide time at the end for you to ask questions, and I'll facilitate that. Please note that we do have some time constraints. We may not get to all of your questions, but our presenters will be available throughout the rest of the conference. Feel free to talk to them in person or reach out to them via email after the conference. And then this session will be recorded and will be available on the CAMP website at the conclusion of the conference. So let's get started with our session. Our first speaker is Will Carr. Will Carr has been part of the Oklahoma State University Alumni Association for almost 8 years and currently serves as the Assistant Director of Marketing and Communications. In his role, he creates marketing plans for engagement and association events, oversees the association's portion of State Magazine, and manages the marketing team. As a loyal and true 2015 OSU graduate, Will loves cheering on the Cowboys and Cowgirls at games throughout the year. In his free time, he loves to spend time with his lovely wife Macy and their dog Cooper. He enjoys road trips to Disney and live concerts, especially his favorite artist, Dave Matthews Band. Let's welcome Will.
Thank you very much. All right, so the portion of my presentation is really going to talk about our student communication life cycle. So I'm going to go through that for you, kind of starting with before they step on campus, before they're students. So our official tours kick off from our alumni center. And so one of the cool things we do, we just redid one of our halls in the center, and we have really cool custom screens that we can really take advantage of. And so the first thing we do is we work with our admissions office and the tours to create these custom graphics for each student before they come to the tour. So it begins them off on the right foot, gives them a chance to feel welcome, take a picture with their name and Pistol Pete before they head out on their tour. It's a nice way to kick things off. So that's really our first contact. The next thing we do is our new Bound for Stability events. This is when they are admitted students that have let us know they're coming to Oklahoma State. And so we we use our chapters throughout Oklahoma, Texas. We have Kansas City, where we invite them to an event. Each event's a little different. Some do ice cream socials, some do just kind of welcome events. Some of them invite just the students and their families, others open it up to alumni in the area. It's a great way to welcome them to the family, to make them feel welcome before they head off to Stillwater. We started a couple of chapters started giving out scholarships for this freshman out of 10. So just a great way to get them going. We also have these custom yard signs created. The chapter actually helps us fund those through their account as well, and we give each student one so they can proudly display it at their home before they head to Stillwater. This is a little bit about the communication for Bound to Stillwater. The one on the left is an invite email to our North Texas chapter event, kind of letting them know what's going on, inviting them to the party, allowing them to register. The one on the right is our thank you email that we sent out after the event, thanking them for attending, inviting them to get connected with the student network of the Alumni Association, really letting them know what we can offer students when they get to Stillwater. And then the last thing is helping get connected to the chapter, or their parents can get connected to the chapter, really on Facebook to know what's going on in the area. And then the next step is orientation and enrollment. So each orientation session, we have a table with a student membership team that pitches our student network membership. And so before they head out to orientation, we send each family a parent letter or a letter to the family to let them know what the student network is, encouraging them to help their student join. We also send a student postcard to the student with some pictures and kind of event overviews and why they should want to join the student network. And then we also have some digital communication. So we get email lists from admissions, and so for students that have signed up for orientation. So the day before they come, we send them an email inviting them to stop by our table, learn about the student network, just kind of that touch base. We also send a text 1 week after to the students who do not join at the table, just kind of reminding them, thanking them for stopping by. And then we send an email 2 weeks after if they still haven't joined, to just encourage that continuing connection. So a little bit of an overview. The one on the left is our parent newsletter, or our parent mailed letter. It has a quote from our current executive director of the student network, and just kind of an overview of what the student network really is, encouraging the parents to help their students get joined. The one on the right is the student postcard that I mentioned. That's one side of it. Just overview of some different events. The big group is our student network board. Just a leadership opportunity for students looking to get involved. And then this is a little bit of our digital communication. So the one on the left and middle is actually a split email. It's too long to fit in the PowerPoint. So just kind of laying out what the benefits are, how it provides access, all the connections they can get. The bottom is actually a link to a video from our student network team, the membership team, letting them see their faces before they step on campus, so that when they get into the room and there's 40 tables, they might see a friendly face and walk over and talk to them. And then the one on the right is our follow-up email 2 weeks out. We make it look like a plain text email from our director of university engagement, who kind of oversees the student network at the time. Just encourage another touch point to get them to possibly join us. So once they're on campus, we send a student newsletter once a month to members. And so that's just highlighting upcoming events, leadership opportunities, ways they can get involved and attend different things. Our student network does do multiple events throughout the year, including career services events that we partner with OSU Career Services to put on, professional development. We do an event called Amazing Traditions Race, where students team up and they basically do like Amazing Race around campus, checking off traditions, and they can win some prizes. Cowboys and Conversations, a smaller event, 10 to 15 students, usually with a coach or a prominent alum, and we provide dinner and they can spend some time one-on-one with them. And so for each of these, we also do app pushes and texting campaigns through Get Through, and then that's kind of a new thing we've been starting to do, but we've seen some great return on that. We also submit topics to the monthly parent newsletter that OSU Grant Management sends out for us, and we can also get access to the university calendar, so we put all of our events on there as well, so that students that may not visit our website can still see what we've got to offer. Okay, and then so this is an example. Again, the ones on the left is a split one. That was an example of our one of our student orange bites, and so just inviting them to professor dinner, a homecoming recap, and then the one on the right is actually a flyer that we put out on campus, inviting people to join Homecoming Big Committee. This is really the first step in getting involved in homecoming, which is a big deal at OSU. If you've never gone, we get about 100,000 people every year to come visit us for homecoming, so it's just a way for them to get involved. And then as they're getting closer to graduation, we start talking about a little bit of different things. So the first thing is class ring. So we pilot the class ring program at OSU. And the first thing we do is we send a postcard to parents, encouraging them if they would like to buy a ring for their student, or encouraging their student to go to on-campus ring sales. So we email students who meet the grad hour criteria, inviting them to Jostens. They'll usually set up for a couple of weeks on campus. They can get size, they can order the ring, ask any questions they need to ask. We do a texting campaign encouraging them to go to that as well. And then we do campus A-frames around campus, inviting them to join as well. Multiple email campaigns and app pushes for that. And so the one on the left is the printed postcard that we send to the permanent address, and then the one on the right is actually a little quarter sheet that we put out at the ring sales, encouraging people to join us for our ring ceremony and taking part in our orange splash, where they dip their hand in orange paint. So, and then here's a little bit of the digital materials. The one on the left is encouraging them to go to ring sales, and then the one on the right is our digital invitation to the ring ceremony itself. Another cool thing we do is life members get a special orange box at our ring ceremony, so it's a good way to help promote membership. People get excited. We've had people join at the ceremony just to get the orange box, so it's really awesome. And then we also do a Gift for Grads campaign. We send postcards to families of expected grads, and also do an email to that same group, encouraging them to purchase gift memberships, class rings, alumni center break papers outside of our alumni center, as well as alumni apparel through our university store. This is really a great way for people just to promote some grad gifts if anybody needs some last minute ideas as well. And then we also have our grad finale event. It's about 1,500 people who attend each year. It's a celebration. We have food trucks, and we do a toast to the seniors and everything like that. They can pick up their gifts. So we do 6 segmented emails based off membership status that each can get different things. We do a texting campaign, app pushes for that as well. We've also started being able to get emails to parents inviting them to come as well. That's usually it's a Thursday before commencement. So this is what our email invitation looked like. And that is really exciting because our new exciting thing is that koozie. People will do anything for a koozie. So we encourage them with the tickets on the right-hand side when they get these when they check in. That QR code takes them to update their information. And then they can stop by our chapter's table, get their koozie, connect with their chapter representative. We had about 500 people do it at our grad finale ceremony. So that's really been great to get some updated information. We pitch membership, athletics is there, university store is there, and the one on the left is actually the ticket they get that morning. We email it to everybody. It's color coded, makes check-in really easy, has a QR, has a code to scan. It's really great. So, and then the very last thing we do is our welcome to the family grad email. This goes out the morning of commencement. Welcome them to the family, encouraging them to download the app, update their record if they haven't already done so, find their local chapter, and if they're not already a member, becoming a member. And then we also invite them to their first homecoming as a graduate. So that's just a brief one there as well. So that's kind of an overview of everything we do to students from start to finish. So that's it for me.
Our second presenter is Tricia S. Price of C. Boulder Alumni Association. Tricia is currently the Director of Forever Buffs Engagement and Outreach. This position plays a critical role in the strategic planning, management, and administration of experiential programs that engage alumni, donors, and friends of CU in deep and meaningful ways. Their organization is called to reach, serve, and engage the 300,000 current and future alumni. 2, invoke passion, honor tradition, celebrate accomplishments, and instill CU in all hearts and minds. Some established experiential programs include the Roaming Buffs Travel Program, Alumni Career Services, Forever Gold, Buff Bashes, Home and Away, Homecoming, Alumni Weekend, System Events, and Scholarship Programming. Let's welcome Tricia.
I think Brian said it yesterday, I need a new headshot, and I know that. I'm told every time I present, and I will get one, it's 10 years old. All right, I figure we need to, before we talk about what we did, I want to explain why we did it. So CU Boulder is part of the Division of Advancement, and we created our strategic plan. So the leadership team got together all across the division and kind of started building ideas. Where do we want to go? What does this look like? We're in Colorado, so we use the mountains. And so we have 3 pillars that we focused on, which was impact and engagement, strengthen SCU, and the strength of CU, and secure resources. And so the secure resources is really focused on kind of the staff and the people. other elements into that, which I'll go into. And then our values are joy, collaboration, excellence, and impact. And we actually build that into everything that we do. We do like staff shout outs at our meetings, and you have to build in that collaboration. So like, I have joy because someone did this, or I really want to thank Andrea for the collaboration that we did to make something happen. So it's kind of that piece that we make sure this is in the forefront of everything that we're doing. But we're going to focus today on our strategic framework goal 2.2. And this was to develop the advancement continuum and move 15% of our tier 4 and 5 pilot groups one level higher. And that's going to make sense as I go through this. Right now you're like, what the heck is that? But I promise you it will make sense as we go through these slides. So this was a really fun graphic that we had a lot of back and forth on, but I'm really excited to share, and this is our continuum. So this is us moving our alumni through the continuum and the different stages that we want. I would love to say that I am the brainchild of this. I am not. There is a group on our campus that we've created. It's called SEAL. It's Strategic Engagement Alumni Leaders. One of the co-chairs of this was Kevin Liddell, who was a camper who is now at University of Maryland. So I was like to lean into him for that. And so this was a lot of work and a lot of discussion and a lot of collaboration as well. You will see our buffalo kind of starts from the sleeping stage in the tent. Again, we are leaning into the mountains in our buffalo. And then we're kind of moving them from that to awareness, which like sleeping means we really can't get a hold of them. They have like no solicitation, they have something, no email, something along those lines that we can't reach them. And then we go to where we're like, they know we're there, but they're not really doing anything. And then curious, they're starting to click on things, they're going into communication, and then you can see kind of as we move up. And then 6 is the champion. And where we built this is we really focused on case metrics. I don't know if anyone else is kind of really leaning into the case metrics, but we're really into the case metrics. So we're focusing on the 4 levels, which is communication, philanthropy, engagement, and volunteerism. And so the champion means that they have done all of those in 1 fiscal year. So that is us moving them along those lines. But we're like, this is very beautiful. It's a fun little thing, but we need to really kind of define what that means. So then we kind of took it down and broke it out a little bit further of what categories fall into this. So that we can know really where are they active, are they investing, are they aware, based off of what they're doing with us, right? So this was kind of, as we're building these are kind of our steps of getting us to the what. This is the why behind it. So then we're like, okay, that's great, but now we need to really kind of dive into it. So then we put them into tiers. And I always have to look it up, write my tiers, because I get a little confused in my tiers. But we really kind of focused on tier 4 and tier 5. If you remember that at the beginning, our goal was to move the tier 4 and tier 5 up the continuum by 15%. So that is our goal in 2.2. So tier 4 is highly engaged with low giving, and tier 5 is not engaged but has some potential to give, some high potential. So those are our 2 tiers that we're focusing on as we're building out these plans. So you will look here. We built out our tier 4 and tier 5 and where they fit into the continuum. 57% of our tier 4 and tier 5 are in silent and aware. So that is a huge amount that we can move, and our goal is only 15%. So we can move them up the continuum, but what are we going to do and how are we going to get them there? So what we did is we did a kind of marketing strategy of getting them from that silent and aware to doing something. So we created a sticker postcard mailer, because the majority of them we could not email or call, but we could mail. So we created a mailer, and we encouraged them to update their information. And so again, they're taking an action by doing that. And then when you do that, we're going to give you a fan packet. So again, helping build out engagement. We had it in the social media, the same kind of thing, update your information. So we may not have their mail, we may not have their emails, but they might be following us on social. So we kind of were trying a couple different ways to capture it. And then again, we would follow up with the email and the incentive of the fact of a socks, hat, and a koozie. Again, who said everybody wants a koozie? So that was like where we went into that one. And so to kind of build the campaign and to get it going, here's our timeline. So we established the friendship, join us, become friends with us on social media. Again, trying to get them to follow. then build the friendship. In December and January is when we kind of did the big campaign. We sent out the fan packets at that point in time. That's when our social media was posting. And then we wrapped it with our Buffs All In, which is our giving day. And so again, it was to educate the importance of giving and making that donation. So we built that friendship along the way so that we're not just coming out on giving day with these people who have not been really engaged with us. So this is really exciting numbers. So we had over 1,000 unique contact submissions. We had 96% that had EIDs. I don't know if you guys all do the EIDs, but it's the matching within our system that they actually, like John Smith is 2567. You know, like they actually match up within our system, which was great. 34% of our primary target audience was tier 4, tier 5, and that silent and aware are the ones that came back into it. 65 respondents needed contact info updated, so we got our contact info updated. And 42 respondents with service indicators cleared, so now we can contact them. And I know that sounds like such a small number, but that's 42 we couldn't reach before we did this. And then we found that most of them came from the social media campaign, which I thought was kind of cool too. So you can see how they moved at the bottom of our continuum and where those percentage are. We had 9 of them that were champions, which again, reminding you of champions, they volunteered, they gave, they engaged with us, and they communicated with us. So we moved from that 57% over, 34% of them were positive movement. So of that 57%, we were able to move 34% of them over. One level higher, so we surpassed our goal 2.2. But we weren't done there. So now what we're doing is we're continuing that communication, and we did our Forever Buffs Insider, which is our newsletter. And what we did with the newsletter is we created the subject lines for tier 4 and tier 5. And then we had the in-state, out-of-state, and the recent grads that we normally do, but we adjusted those subject lines and are trying to keep that communication going with them, keeping that friendship being built and moving forward with it. One of the things that we are looking at as we move into our second year of our alumni weekend, we did a postcard to tier 4, tier 5, and our GACs, which is Gold Anniversary Club, so 50 plus out. And you're probably going to drop the tier 5 in our communication because we're finding that there's a reason they're not engaging and they don't want to engage, but tier 4 is becoming active and really want to be, so we're kind of changing our focus on that side. So that is kind of how we are, again, going back to what the keynote says, we took the demographic out and we kind of just look at what some of the potentials were in that engagement element and changed it up a little bit there.
Thank you, Tricia. All right, our final presenter is Andrea Say of Carolina Alumni. Andrea is head of marketing for Carolina Alumni at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where she oversees strategic marketing initiatives for a global network of more than 367,000 alumni. With 17 years of experience in alumni relations, Andrea brings expertise in brand development. Known for her sharp eye for brand identity and her ability to create meaningful connections, she is passionate about making the Carolina brand resonate across generations. She still laughs and smiles every day at work, a sure sign that she loves what she's doing.
Boom, 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 boom. They are the heartbeats of our universities. They blinked, and their college years came and went just like that. All those memories. They wouldn't trade them for anything. What they're leaving with, though, is a family of alumni to do this thing called life with. Boom, 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 boom. They blinked, and 50 years of life passed by. They succeeded and they failed, they loved and they lost. We have the privilege of telling their great adventures. And then we invite them back for Spring Reunions Weekend. It's a weekend that culminates with this moment right here that's about to happen when these 50th grads walk out of our football tunnel. Spring Reunions Weekend for us is always during commencement weekends in May. It's lunches, it's dinners, it's enrichment sessions. It's the 50th class and older, so it's ages 70 plus. It's multiple days, with the day being when the 50th class processes before the class of 25 in this case, to their favorite song from their time at Carolina that they voted on from our emails. And it's the moment. It's a top 5 favorite things that we do for me, and to me, it is our life. First, I'll take you back to the beginning of the weekend so you can get a flavor of some of our characters throughout the weekend, the energy they bring, and the vibe of what we're trying to get across.
I am so excited. I'm about to burst. The 50th class reunion at Carolina is great. We get to march with the graduates. We get to see each other. We're going to have a lot of fun and leave here very, very proud of Carolina. We left here terrified but ready to change the world, and believe it or not, we've done a little bit of good in the parts of the world where we've ended up. So come, stay involved all along the way, but definitely come for your 50th anniversary.
I'm Pat, and I have never been to a Carolina reunion, so the 50th reunion was very important to me. I lived in Florida for over 30 years, but retired to Durham, and now I'm able to come to the reunions. So just to see the changes on campus, to visit with my college roommate and friends that I made 50 years ago was really worth it to me. That's why I'm here.
I'm here to show that I'm grateful to be a part of this history, and meet old friends perhaps, but just go back in time maybe for a moment and remember all the magic that most everybody experiences here at UNC.
When I graduated from UNC in 1974, I set as one of my goals to come back to UNC for my 50th reunion. So I have looked forward to it for 50 years, and I am so grateful that I made it!
I'm Dick Carlton, also in the class of 1974, and I guess the reason I decided was because of the wonderful program that y'all have for us, because there's some good substantive meetings and some good parties, and I think if you're ever going to go, you ought to choose the 50th.
I'm Don Vaughn, class of 1974, and it's an extra special day for me. My daughter Catherine will actually graduate from Chapel Hill and be in the same processions that I am in. She's headed to law school next year, and this will be our last day at Chapel Hill together. It's a great day.
What you saw there is they love a tiny mic. And that was $12.99 on Amazon, so I think you can all make the case for getting one. And it was as easy as having our intern at the time walk around during that event and make it happen. Now we do it consistently every year. You'll see this on our social. It can be translated to any event. It made for great content. It did really, really well. So just super, super pumped to share that with y'all. And so how did we get them there to that very, very moment? And so we'll go through a lot of marketing that goes against everything that I believe in and every other facet of everything else that we do because of this audience, but we see that it works, and so we're happy to do it. And some examples of that is a lot of text, including phone numbers, encouragement to call your friends, which I know a lot of our younger alumni find that frightening, and multiple print pieces, which this is really the only area that we're investing in print pieces beyond what you see here on the left, which is our Carolina Alumni Review magazine, and that's mailed to our members 6 times a year. But just first quick example, we have a really cool graphic. We pretty much use this for our spring reunions weekend time and again, so we're not reinventing a theme every year. These people are fresh, they enjoy it, it's classic. But a first example up is a print ad. This is still the group where we're doing a perforated mail piece. We find that it works for them. They want the print, so we're going to give them the print. And so this is the only piece I think we do all year that has has this perforated edge, they can bring it back in. It gets more traffic for us than it does them signing up for web registrations. It helps us a lot because we'll hear from our events team about how people can't find where they need to go on the website, and so just give them the postcard and carry on, and that is fantastic. Also postcards, always a gem. So this area we're still doing a postcard. Again, we don't do it much else in our organization, so this is an area that we feel like we can invest a little bit more. Also, they've waited 50 years to hear from us for this weekend, so we think that that's worth it. This is the most embarrassing piece I'll put in here, but we find that it works. I liked how Will kept saying this is 2 parts. Yep, that's 2 parts of our email. Probably a 3-page Word doc if we put it in there. But we find that it works. It's all in one place for them. They can read every detail that they need. They don't have to click here, go there, then they're calling us and they're confused. Like, it is okay, and we would feel free in doing this for this group. We would not do this anywhere else. I would fall over if I ever saw this go out. But we do make the exception, and I feel like that's something that we can all be okay with. I feel like we just constantly are moving in this direction of shorter window to the website. It's all got to go in this one way, but I think we've got to back up and still meet people where they are. So I just think feeling free in doing that. Again, if someone pitched this to me in another area that we do, we would say a hard no on that. But we're okay here. And this is the email too that this class loves, because we do have the committee, the reunion participants put together their list of songs that mean something to them. This is the place where they get to vote on it, and then that's what they'll process out into our football stadium in front of that graduating class. Now this is my saving grace I wanted to put in here, that not all of their communications look like that. We do some short and sweet. And again, that's the philosophy of the window to the website. So sometimes we will alternate if we don't have as much to say besides just an event reminder. And one avenue that we love to do, and our interns can help with this, or we find it is equally as fun, as going back into your archives. So we have all of our yearbooks scanned and online via our library. So we'll go back to their class here and pull all their photos, and those will find their way into our emails and some of our print pieces as well. We do accept advertising into our emails too, so that's an example of that. But I will say this generation was very upset with seeing the word retirement, because they aren't all ready for that. And so that was just something to be mindful of as we're going into our next spring reunion cycle, although not anything we can necessarily help, but the partner pitched that, but just to make a nod and note to them for next time. This is an example. I want to show kind of 2 things here. The first one, just at the top, 2 years ago, we rebranded. We used to be UNC General Alumni Association, which was long, nobody got it. We had a staff meeting and we said, who knows why we have the G and why we are general, and not a single person of our 40-person office knew what that meant. And so what we've moved to is, you'll see Carolina Alumni at the top. That's what our logo looks like, or at the bottom right is a beautiful example, but we have a sub-brand system. So this class used to vote, and we always had a different million logos, so now everything's in a sub-brand. So you'll see that 75 50th reunion at top. Next year, it takes us 2 seconds to change the 5 to a 6, and we move on. So that's just saved us a lot of energy, a lot of design dollars, etc. And that is throughout the organization. You'll see travel put in that spot. You'll see Black Alumni Reunion put in that spot. And that has just saved us time. And when we embarked on this, just a real quick aside, because you'll see it on the metal that's up here, is we wanted a logo that didn't necessarily have to knock people's socks off, but it needed to work everywhere. And so being able to put it on this teeny tiny medallion that this class gets when they process into the stadium, and it worked there too, it's just, I can't express how much easier it's made our jobs. And it's like we have a new coworker, and he shows up every time, and he works well with everybody. And so that's been really fantastic. And just a quick note, this medal is $625 per. I always like to know the marketing numbers, but that was with our vendor. We pre-order them every year. It's a tradition, so really something magical. We still believe in Facebook events for a lot of what we're doing. I think it's so funny. We'll have a young alumnus in our office, and she'll say, oh, I'm never on Facebook, and then she posts more than anybody else I know, so they're like secretly closet on Facebook. But this is a fantastic example where we see a lot of traction with this group, but also everyone under 5 booklets that we'll do. Again, like a lot of scan photos from the archives go into our design. We'll use that throughout the weekend. Something interesting I wanted to point to is this group loves a list of deceased alumni. I don't know if y'all love that, but they ask for it and clamor for it every year. Last year they wanted a column that said exactly why they died. And so we said, well, we're not going that far. But I do think it's fascinating that that's a piece that they want that, again, doesn't work with every other class. And when we use QR codes with this demographic, we're still putting our full URL beneath, just in case they have a problem, they can't use it, we want it to be clear as day. And even at one of our orientation sessions recently, there's some QR code types that didn't work with some types of phones, so it's just easy to have the URL run beneath in a clean and classy way. We also do start putting advertisements, whether internal clients or external, into these pieces and sell spaces. So I think your booklets are a good spot that you can start doing that. And so that's just an example there of one of our travel ads. One thing we do, we have a luncheon for this group that they get invited back to. If you're 50th or older, it's endowed. We've had it for years. They get a free lunch. People drive from Florida just to get this free lunch, which is so funny. Just because of the price they pay for that gas to get there, but it's meaningful. And so it used to be called the Old Students Club Luncheon, and again, with this class, we're seeing they don't want to be retired, they don't want to be old, and so we changed it to Priceless Gym Luncheon, which is a nod to a line that's in our alma mater that we all sing. And so they get bestowed upon them a lapel pin when they arrive, and so that's just an example of what that swag item looks like. We also work with our sponsors throughout this event, so this is just a proof that we did of an etched mug, and it had their logo on the back, ours on the front, so that's a space that we're starting to move into while still trying to keep it very classy and clean, is always our goal. And then these are the medallions again, just like really highly coveted, people wait to get them, so I wanted to present this here. And then our branding, this is the banner that they process out to into the stadium, and so just showing our logo on here too, and again, like our logo goes on everything, it's not a question anymore. It's always been up for debate in the past, and so it's really nice to have something that works, and so that's an example of that. And then what I want to show real quick, this was a creation, I don't know, it's not loading, it's the best part, there we go. By Caroline, who's in our audience. So one thing that we've really pushed this past year is our events team has us all sign up for events, but what people weren't putting emphasis on is the importance of having your social media person not feel like they have to sign up to do trash, but they also can be there and be just as important, capturing the moment. And so Caroline put this video up on TikTok, and it has over 267,000 views, which is the best we've ever done on a TikTok video. And this is that moment. This is the moment that they come for, that I talked about at the beginning, that they're about to walk out of that stadium and have their time of their life, 50 years in the making. Oh gosh. I'm over here enjoying it. That was so cute. and we had it go and live its own life all over the place. So it was appearing on every ounce of social media, it was in all of our emails, it was linked everywhere. And so at the end of May is our birthday, we just celebrated 182 years. So we were like, what better way to celebrate with that video? And so I just want to real quick read a little paragraph that we put in there. But 182 years ago, Carolina alumni set out to build a lifelong bond with its alumni. In this photo and video, the spirit shines through. A class of 2025 grad reaching out to high five a class of 1975 grad. A moment 50 years in the making. These magical connections are what make us Carolina alumni, and will keep them going. You can count on that. Boom, 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 boom. We too are the heartbeats of our universities. The best part, we are all connected to our universities forever. We have the job of keeping the magic of our alma maters alive. So let's have as much fun as a 50th class back for their spring reunions weekend while doing it.
Thank you to all of our presenters. We do have about 15 minutes for questions, and I can come around with a microphone if I see anyone. Questions?
Trisha, my question's for you. You talked about having different subject lines for the different tiers of your alumni. Do you also have different content in the newsletter, or is the content the same but the subject line is kind of what was changed?
Most of the time, it's just the subject line, and then the order might change. So we might, like, if we feel this is gonna really appeal to them, then that's gonna be the first thing when they open, and then I'll grab them.
So for the 50th reunion, I think on one of the mail pieces, it said something about like old student org party or something. Can you speak to that a little bit, like what that is?
That was the rebrand. So it used to be Old Students Club Luncheon, and then it just changed to Priceless Gem Luncheon. But it's literally, we invite 17,000 alumni, over 1,000 attend, and they get a free lunch. And so we have a speaker, and they all get to sing the alma mater together. But it's literally like a little plate of chicken salad, fruit, and a muffin, and they drive and fly all over the country for this free lunch. And they can also partake in the rest of the weekend. But it was endowed by a family called the Love Family, literally in 1889, and it's been going ever since, so.
My question is for Trisha about the advancement continuum. After you put together that framework, how long did it take you to identify the tiers or the groups of folks and their engagement levels? Because that seems like a very large task.
We have a data team that's amazing. And so I would say it took a couple months, really. I wouldn't say years, but just a couple months of really, first it was to define it, and then they just had to build what their magic in the behind the scenes that pulled it off for us.
Other questions?
Making Lisa walk.
That's good. All my steps today.
Hi, I have a question for OSU. So for you guys, is your orientation under your alumni association, or do you guys have a separate team for orientation?
So as far as what? I'm sorry, as far as running the whole orientation?
Yeah.
No, so we don't do that. They use our building for lunches and that kind of stuff. And then we have a membership sales team of 4 students that go over to the browse sessions, and we have a table and we work through with that. So we work with our admissions team and all that stuff, but we don't put it on.
Does your admissions team share the list of who's coming, how you can make those really cool graphics?
Yes, so we get the list of, we get the people that are coming to orientation. Yeah.
I have a question about collaborations for both Will and Andrew.
Well, how do you get email addresses from admissions? You must have a great relationship with them. I'd love to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, so that is probably, if you see Melissa around, that's probably a better question for her, but because that actually started before I even got there. We do have a good working relationship with them. Kind of, like I said, they've used our building for tours, so we just have a good, really good working relationship with them. So knock on wood, it keeps going.
Yes, and
Yes.
Henriette,
Wow. Do we get permission?
how do you get permission for other people besides graduates to participate in commencement? I mean, that blows my mind because the registrar's office at the University of Arkansas has that locked down.
Our previous president had been in the role for over 40 years, and so I feel like it just got grandfathered in, and we're keeping it running, and no one's gonna stop us.
And people probably like it, but
They love it.
I have found that people have to see something and love it before they'll try something new. So the fact that you are able to do it is great. Other questions from the audience? I have my tennis shoes.
Pretty much everybody has mentioned the importance of getting those new graduate non-school email addresses so they can keep in touch, and as well as alumni updates. I'm curious to know, and even from everybody in the room, if you want to raise your hand, if your contact update form or however you use is behind a login or not behind a login.
Ours is not behind a login, but I will tell you, it took us a while to figure out where it was going. So like, a form was created and nobody knew where it went. So we figured that out, that was the first step. But ours is wide open. And so we're now taking that same concept that we did for the Continuum in Tier 4 and Tier 5, and we are non-dues, but we do have one membership group called Forever Gold. And we identified that about a third of them have either a do not email or a do not mail, because they were our lifetime members, and when we did away with dues, we moved them into this Forever Gold membership as like a grandfathered in. And so we're gonna try to do the same concept to get that, update your information. But that's why, and then if you add that login piece, you lose them.
Yeah, so our profile is behind a login where they can update it, but as far as like at the grad finale event or anything like that, those forms are all not behind login. So when we got those 500 people to do it this spring, they didn't have to log in at the event. So.
The only form on our website that is not behind the login. So.
We also battle, which I think a lot of schools do, is we have the email for life. So when they graduate, they use @colorado.edu, because a lot of them may not have a job right away or know it, but then once they start using their other one, that @colorado.edu, we're not getting bounce backs, we don't know it's not going to them, and it's still going, so we're trying to figure that one out a little bit more too.
Oh, you have a question?
Hey there. For OSU, email versus text message marketing, what do you notice are the pros and cons of each of those?
As far as with students, surprisingly aggressive about responding and not wanting us to text them on certain ones. Overall, we've had a very positive outcome with texting. We haven't gotten a lot of bounce back either from alumni or students. But the student ones, yeah, they get a little bit more testy about it. But we've seen success with emails as well. Like for the grand finale event, we get a lot of registration from emails. But they also do show up that morning and say, I never got my ticket. And we can tell them exactly what time they got their ticket. And then they'll say, is it this? And we'll say, yeah. So it just kind of depends, but we've seen success from both, so.
Do you have a policy, like a university policy about mass texting, or did you just jump in the water without that?
So we used to have to send individual texts, so it wasn't mass texting. Somebody had to sit there and hit enter over and over and over again. That has since been adjusted, so we do mass text, So our foundation started doing that, and we've followed suit, so.
You guys also have the app. Do you utilize that as a way to communicate a lot of times too?
Yes, so we do app pushes for anybody that has notifications on, so.
Hi, this is Darrell Lee from the University of Maryland. My question is for Trisha. You mentioned that you're removing the Tier 5 folks from the remaining parts of this campaign. Could you speak a little bit about how you got to that point and what metrics you used to make that decision?
We dove into those numbers of the 1,000 that came back. I would say, I don't know the exact percentage, but it's a really low percentage of the Tier 5. So we're gonna take a look at and see what does that make the most sense. The reason why we're doing this too is next year will be our 150th. I don't ever say that word, that's what you know, the word. So it's our 150th, and then we kick into a campaign the next year. So this is our way to kind of start figuring out how we're gonna hone in on which tiers to take it to that next level. So you can only focus on so much at one time, and so that's why we made that decision. Ask Kevin, he can tell you. Other questions? A lot of great questions on it.
Well, if there are no more, I was supposed to try to hold you all in here until 10 after because they're trying to stagger lunch, but that is what's next. I want to thank our presenters, Trisha, Will, and Andrea. You did a wonderful job. I know we got a lot out of it. Again, lunch is starting now. It's hosted by Active and Fit Direct, one of our sponsors. Encourage you to interact with them at lunch, interact with each other, fill up, and we'll see you all this afternoon.